Archbishop Benson Idahosa has been referred to as the father of Pentecostalism in Nigeria. Almost 23 years after his death, his impact is still being felt today in Nigeria, around Africa, and other parts of the world through the continued fruit of the ministries he founded. The Church of God Mission International, the denomination he founded, the Benson Idahosa University, and the All Nations for Christ Bible Institution that he founded. Tonight, I sit down with his son, Bishop FEB Idahosa, and his wife, Laurie, to discuss the legacy of this great man. This is Chim's Talk Africa.
From Cape Town to Cairo and from Mogadishu to Dakar, this is Chim's Talk Africa. And now here's your host, Chim Onyibilanma.
Hi there, welcome to this segment of your show. Like I said in my intro, I have the pleasure of having once again with me Bishop FEB Idahosa and his lovely wife, Reverend Laurie Idahosa. You're welcome once again to the show.
The pleasure's ours.
Thank you. Good to
I enjoyed that conversation the last time so much. How easy was it for you growing up as Archbishop Benson Idahosa's son, only son, to be real? I mean, how was it like growing up?
Well, for me, it was difficult because my father, of course, was known around Nigeria, known around Africa, but in Benin, where I grew up and where he lived, everybody's eyes were on you all the time. So that could be across town, and I do something, and before I drive across town to home, he has already heard about it.
Is that not Idahosa's son?
No phone, no cell phone, no social media, but he has already heard. So I think it was difficult. There was a lot of pressure on me. What helped me, I think, was I went to boarding school at a semi-early age, and so where I went, either they didn't know who I was or they didn't really care.
Or didn't care.
It was Joss. And people just be yourself, that's it. So that removed some pressure from me.
Okay, so the distance helped you to flourish. But then you were faced with the untimely, in quotes. We say untimely because we are looking at our own wristwatch.
Right.
God has his own way of doing things. But I can remember where I was when I read in The Guardian, a newspaper in Nigeria, about the death of Archbishop Idahosa. He was always there. Right. And it was impossible to think that, no, that's, maybe they got the thing wrong. Yeah. You were somewhere on that day. How did it hit you?
Oh, it was, I tell people that, if you've ever been hit by a car, this was like being hit by a Mack truck, like big truck. I was in school, I was in medical school at the time, and I was in class in the UK, yes, in the UK, and the people I was living, Bishop Michael Reed, I was living in the same town where he was living, and so there was no cell phones, but I had a pager, so I got a page that he tried to reach me, so I went to the phone, I called him, said, you need to come back home right now. So now I lived an hour and a half away from school. So I got on the train, I'm driving back, I'm thinking, okay, why does he need to come back home right now? This is 3 in the afternoon. So I get back home around 6 and tells me, sit down. I said, no, I don't want to sit down. What's going on? He said, sit down. I said, I'm fine. Just tell me what's going on. And he says, your father just passed away. And as I said, I told you to sit down. so now I said, let me sit down. I said, you must be joking, right? I said, you joke about anything like that.
Yeah.
I said, no, he wasn't joking. This is true. And then he told me what happened. And I was just stunned for minutes. I remember I didn't cry until I thought, what will I tell my sister?
Wow.
She lived in a different city in Milton Keynes. I said, how will I tell my sister?
Because it's falling on you now to do that.
What will I tell her? And so that's when it just hit me. I just started crying.
Wow.
I got in the car. I said, okay, I'm coming to come and see you. She said, why? I said, I'm coming to come and see you. She said, why? I said, don't worry. So I drove another hour and a half or so across to where she was. And so she opened the door. She said, Daddy is dead, isn't he? As if she knew, because she's like, why are you coming overnight? What's going on? So just anyway, but it was interesting that whole time. So for us, it was something that was very different, very difficult, something that we weren't expecting. Like you said, he was just always there. Yeah. And we thought, okay, he would grow old and maybe around 60, 70, 80, 90, and we'll just slide in afterwards and do everything right. But this was at 60, 59 actually. He went like that. But like you said, God had a plan, and God knew what he was doing. I tell people that God is like God's we play checkers, we play draft. So you take one step, one move at a time. God sees the entire chessboard, not just one chessboard. God is seeing 15 chessboards, and He's understanding how each move is being made across each one.
Wow.
And He knows what is happening, what's going to happen. So I look back now and I see how God was just was putting things in place.
Planning something. Then it wasn't obvious. Laurie, where were you?
Never obvious.
I was in a car.
Can you remember where you were?
I remember exactly where I was, because
You weren't married then, but he was quite close to you.
Yeah, he was like a father to me as well. And when I was growing up, Archbishop Idahosa was the one that my parents would send me to if I got in trouble. He would scold me, and also the one that would hold me. And so I remember exactly where I was. I was at a stoplight, and I had one of those big bag phones. It was before we had regular cell phones. And I had this big bag phone, and I got a phone call that told me that he'd passed away. And I stayed at that stoplight. Cars left, the lights changed, I don't know how many times, and I just couldn't breathe.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that this was true. I couldn't believe it was really happening.
Wow.
He was larger than life to us, and we thought that Papa could never go.
Right.
Larger than life, and then Feb, you had to come back at a stage, and you were here, back in Bini, and there were expectations on you. How did you navigate that expectation? Because there's a big shoe to be filled in now, and whether they said it or not, eyes were on you about something, and you went into the ministry. Tell us a bit about navigating through that.
I'd always known I was going to be in ministry. I think for me it was an issue of timing. I was in medical school at the time. I thought, okay, I would finish medical school, start doing some work as a doctor, do some preaching here and there, and then eventually, as he's going to his twilight, maybe 90, 95, 110, I'll be maybe 60, I'll now say, okay, let me just touch.
You'll be a wise 60-year-old man by then.
So for me, I immediately I told him I was going to take a year off school. So I talked to people. I took a year off school. So I was going to come back home and spend that 1 year sort of helping to balance things, help my mother with the ministry. In that 1 year, I was ordained. I started in the ministry, started working in the ministry. And after a year, I just knew. Actually, even before the year was over, I knew this was what I was supposed to be doing. So I was able to pause, and after a year, I told him I didn't want to go back to medical school. And I stayed back. How did I navigate it? It was difficult and tough because at first everyone expects you to be your father. And
the next Archbishop Benson Idahosa.
So everything you did, you need to be doing. And for me, in that 1 year and the year afterwards, I wore his clothes, I wore his shoes. I mean, literally walked in his shoes.
And probably spoke like he spoke.
Yes, and people would call. I was like, "Hello, man of God," and people would just
is that Archbishop?
So I was trying to do all that, and I was trying to be him, trying to speak like him, and all those things. And I remember I was listening to one of his cassettes. We had cassettes back then. My sons have no idea what a cassette is. I listened to one of his cassettes, and he was talking, and he was saying, your job is to motivate, inspire, and encourage. And it was as if he was speaking to me. And after I heard him say that, God spoke to me and said, you don't have to fill your father's shoes. I will give you your own shoes to wear. And that freed me. Because I thought, you know what, I don't have to try to be him. I don't have to try to be who he was. That's God said, I'll give you your own shoes. And when you get your own shoes, they will fit you. You won't have to try to fit into someone else's shoes or grow your feet or do anything. My father, I said before he passed away, that my mother would stretch his shoes. That in other words, she would grow and stretch his shoes. And she did that. The church was able to grow. Ministry grew from 1 hospital to 3 hospitals. The university became accredited. So many things that she was able to do to help the ministry grow. But for me, God spoke to me and said, look, you will have your own shoes. And that has helped me know that I need to be myself. So anyone who's listening as well, so you must ask God to give you your vision to be who he has called you to be.
That's very powerful. And the fact that God doesn't call us to be somebody else. No. Even as a very, very good person. God doesn't want another person else. He wants you. And what a lesson for us all to learn. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go for a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue talking about just the legacy of Archbishop Idahosa. I'm speaking to Bishop FEB Idahosa and his lovely wife, Reverend Laurie Idahosa. And we'll go for a break. And when we come back, we'll continue this lovely conversation.